Hello, hello. Welcome to In Between Homes podcast. So today we are having a conversation with Aleea. She's based in the US and she's a co-founder and the podcast producer of Golden Goose Creative. It's a full service podcast production company established in 2021. She provides the perfect nest of support for creative female entrepreneurs. It's really a one-stop shop, and she made my dream coming coming true. So it's an honor to have you today. Hi, Helila. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm great. Yeah, it's nice day out. I'm happy to be here.
Nice. So today I want to dig more into your story, into your journey as a woman entrepreneur, because as as we know, it's not always easy. There are periods of time where it's a bit more challenging. So I don't know, would you love to share a bit of your story? What has been the kind of the fast track of your story about your entrepreneur journey and how did this started?
Yeah, great question. So, I actually started as a virtual assistant back in 2017 and I loved it. It was fun. I was able to, it's kind of similar to podcasting where, you're working with clients and it was really fun, but I wanted to have something with a little more flexibility and worked not just with my schedule, but also like with my like financials and stuff. Not that VA work wasn't good, but you have to have a little bit of both. So more flexibility, better pay. It's quite intriguing. And I wanted to niche down just because it's it's hard when you're wearing so many caps and hats. And so it's nice to be able to focus on one thing with, even though podcasting still has a ton of things to it, it's not as all over the board as virtual assistant work. So I decided to make the switch in, yeah, 2021. And it was actually perfect timing because my co-founder, she found out she was pregnant. And so it worked wanting to, as her starting to be a mom, we wanted to definitely have the flexibility to, work with that schedule. And so now I do this full time and that's, basically how I got started from, I came across a course and just decided to take a leap of faith and kind of get going. Yeah.
I love what you mentioned. I think the leap of faith. So
Yeah.
did you feel it somewhere in your body at this moment in your life? Did you kind of feel a push to do that?
Yeah, I was starting to feel really burnt out, um, which I'm sure a lot of people have experienced. It can be a lot when you're managing a lot of hats and different clients. And I loved the people I worked with, but I didn't love what I was doing. And so as I just, you finally one day it was just like, okay, I've had enough of this and I want something different. And now it's like, even on the days that are overwhelming or like tiring, I don't feel that heavy weight that I did with virtual assistant work. And like I said, I loved being a VA, but I just find that this field works a lot better with like my lifestyle and my personality. And so it was definitely, there was definitely a pull. Like when, it's like you finally you're like, okay, I have to make a switch.
Amazing. And what do you love in the podcast journey when you support people to make it happen?
Yeah, I love seeing our clients succeed because I feel like then I'm, doing the work that I actually, the things that we've done are actually working. And so I love that feeling just because, like I said, when they win, we win. And I like the tasks. Like sometimes they're a little repetitive, but they're fun. It's like you know what you're going to be doing. It's fun hearing new stories and experiences from different types of people and different podcasts because, when you work with female entrepreneurs, they're all over the industry. And so it's fun hearing different stories. And so like even though you're doing the same things, every episode's different. And so it's nice to be able to hear that. And I learn a lot. So I love that.
I love that. I think you mentioned two very important things for our listeners is it's not always about not being grateful about the work that you are doing because you were quite happy in the VM, but you didn't fully love what you were doing. And then it leads you to burnout, which I have experienced too as well. um, and then when you start doing what you love, like the energy is different. You really feel like, okay, it's thriving. It's from a different space. So it's so important to step by step listening to those signs because it's how we can find the path to, you know, the next things. And and when we look at your journey, maybe people can say, this is no link between VA and podcast, but actually prepare you to be more probably organized, right? In the podcast launch and all those things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in your business development, how the journey has been for you? Did you have like really a big challenge or what are the difficulties
Yeah.
you have encountered?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, um, for myself, I used to be it's funny. I feel like I used to be quite extroverted and now especially working from home and things like that. And I guess the online space is quite different. I feel a lot more introverted and so networking has been hard when or can be hard especially when like your entire business rely, finding clients, things like that. Of course, referrals are great, but when you're trying to expand and stuff, you need to connect and build relationships with people, especially online, and that can be difficult. And so that's definitely something that I have struggled with, continue to struggle with, but I'm always working on trying to do better at just because it's something that's necessary, but yeah, it can be definitely a hard battle to manage.
I'm sure you are not the only one. And
Yeah.
it's so true. Like when we shift businesses from more like I would say in person to online, it's a totally different approach because
Yeah.
you are one in between billions of people online. So you are less, I would say, less visible somehow. And with the algorithm and all of that, it's like, oh, I need to learn a new shape. So do you have maybe one advice for people who are struggling in the same area? What has been for you something that helps you to kind of, overcome this challenge?
Yeah. One thing is definitely um put your fear aside, even though it's hard. It's like sometimes you just have to do the hard things and like take, like, like earlier, take a leap of faith. You kind of have to remind yourself like there are other people that feel that way and just and another is also making like a plan. Like for me, like actually setting up a plan, like, hey, I'm gonna try and, connect with or like reach out or comment on things, at least 3 times a week, actually setting and making that a priority can really help. But yeah, I mean, the hardest part is just getting over the fear. And so it's just, you have to remind yourself like you can do it. And then just, yeah, you just kind of have to do it. Especially like as a business owner, sometimes there are those things that you have to try and it might not work out, but then it's like you try something else. And another thing I would say is actually connecting with other people in your industry, even though it might sound a little counter in, productive because they're potentially reaching the same clients as you, but it's like they can give you a lot of motivation and inspiration and help remind you that you're not alone and that you can, do things together. And so, yeah, I would definitely suggest building building connections that potentially won't be clients because then it also helps you build your confidence to connect with people that would be your clients. So yeah, that would be I guess my like 1 to 2 tips.
Yeah, thank you. Because I think it's so important is being strong in the industry, and it's not because you are most likely serve the same client that you are in competition. It's really
Right.
everyone is unique. Your approach not going to be the same
Exactly.
approach as someone else, and you will resonate with different people. So I love what you say as a great reminder to everyone. It's like get surrounded, get a community, get people who
Mhm.
are doing the same as you to feel part of, I'm not the only one struggling. And especially for me, when I did my first business abroad, I was the only one, in my family, in my friends, not so many people were entrepreneurs at that time. I felt so lonely. So it's so important to
Mhm.
reach out, to find some good partners, like some people you can gather with, you can exchange tips and practices to get better all together, because we are in a world where it's not competition anymore.
Right.
Like, we have space, there is business for a lot
Yes.
of people,
Yes.
for everyone, I would even say. So
Yeah.
lean into your gift, and get the support you need for from peers. It's really the
Yeah.
word peers, I think, the peers community to build up. Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have to sacrifice something in your entrepreneurial journey at some stage?
Definitely. What's fascinating though is I feel like I actually sacrificed more as a virtual assistant than I do as a podcast producer, just because, like I said, there's so much more flexibility. Um, and I think it also helps that like now that with like with VA work, I was working for someone else, and with this, it's our own business. So I feel like I can, set really be more specific on who I work with, what, the hours I work on, things like that. But like podcasting just has so much more flexibility. So, but, even with, I feel like having more time and things like that, there's definitely been sacrifices. Like, it's like anybody. There's the weekends and sometimes the weekdays or evenings that you do have to sacrifice just because things need to get done and you can't keep pushing it off and things like that. I try not to procrastinate, but, life gets in the way. And so it happens. And I don't know, I guess sacrificing. It's just finding a balance. It's not so much, I guess, I've had to sacrifice, but it's definitely been, I've had to find a good balance, and it can be hard to do that sometimes, just because being an entrepreneur I mean, there's a lot that comes with it that you don't expect.
Yeah. I think what I heard from you is like auto-regulate yourself. Like,
Yeah.
even though you have flexibility of time, sometimes you are taking the time for yourself or doing something else. And then it's like, oh, the deadline is tomorrow. I need to do it tonight. So it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
Where did you learn to be more, let's say, self-regulate before? So more like in your um really like authority, that okay, I'm very responsible, or did you learn that with the entrepreneurial journey?
I had some of it when I was in college. However, becoming an entrepreneur has definitely forced me to work on it more. And I feel like it brought out more of the flaws of it. It's like you can really see the areas that you need to work on, like, especially when it comes to that. So, like, I definitely was starting to do it because, like, in college, you have to do certain things and it's not like anyone's there, especially when you move away from home, you have to do it yourself and, like, you know, actually become like an adult in quotes. But once you start a business, it's like, okay, like other people rely on you, especially when it comes to client work and stuff. And so, yeah, it definitely was something that I had to get way better at when I became a business owner.
Awesome. And what about the partnership? Because what is it to build a business at two people? Is it like, are you both of you more complementary, like in your skills, or are you both like a creative mind, or how does it work being at two in a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we do complement each other, but we definitely still have skills that like someone, one possesses that the other doesn't. I'm more full time at this. She does still have a corporate job. And so I think that kind of helps is yes, we're a partnership, but I do take more of like the everyday roles and things in hand. And then she helps me with back end stuff. So it's kind of nice because we're able to get everything done. Um, Without, bumping heads constantly or like trying to figure out who does what, things like that. But I will say the one thing that I really love about being in a partnership is I feel like for many entrepreneurs, it's scary because you're doing it all by yourself. And so when I have someone else, it's like I have someone that I can be like, this sounds okay, right? Or like, this is okay. Like it's like that, almost like an inner voice where you can like double check. And so it's nice to have like that extra support. But I wouldn't say it's too challenging, especially because we've been good friends for a really long time. And so I do think when you make that decision, you need to work with someone that you can, and even during the hard stuff, you can work through it and like get through it together. So it's like you definitely have to pick right. But once you do, I think it can really be like a match made, in heaven type thing.
Mm, awesome. I think it's opening the door to more
Right.
people to actually trusting and and because for me it's like my journey has been more as well solo entrepreneur at the beginning, and now I know that to actually offer a full service, like not full service, but I mean going deeper with people, like partnership are essential, whatever it's, co-founding something or just collaborating with others. And I found the magic when you put people together to, create something even deeper and enjoy and even bring more joy. The next question would be about lifestyle. Well, you mentioned a lot about, having flexibility of time. What is life for you? What is outside of work?
Yeah. So it's funny. I should have done podcast management when I first did my VA work because I was actually traveling the country at the time in a motorhome. And so we did that for 6 months. However, as the pandemic hit, it led us to come home. And so now I pretty much, I work from home, but I'm like in an actual home base. I don't travel as much, which is unfortunate, but, it's right now what this life is, where I'm at this point in my life. So like for the most part, outside of work, I I have 9 cats and a dog. So like we have a lot happening. So I hang out with them. I love cooking, going outside and like building our garden and like going on walks and things like that. So right now it's pretty simple, but I enjoy it just because traveling is really fun and I love doing it. But now I'm in a phase where it's nice to also be able to do things within my own little like square.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally understand. It's not because you do something for a certain couple of time that you cannot decide to be in a proper structure home with strong foundation and not just wheels. I totally get you. How was the experience to actually be working from a motorhome? Like, how was it easy to manage or how?
Um, It was not as difficult as I thought, especially because we had portable Wi-Fi, but it can't be hard. I mean, especially when you're traveling in a motorhome, you might get spotty internet or you might find a place that just has no service at all, things like that. But for the most part, it's pretty, it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. You basically just have to make sure, especially if you want to actually explore, like we were traveling the country, so we wanted to explore places. It's like you have to find and make sure you set times for working, but also set times to actually be able to go out and like explore your surroundings and actually enjoy why you started working on the go in the first place. So it's it's fun. It's definitely rewarding, but it can be a lot of time management, just making sure that you're able to fit it all in, especially if you're like moving from place to place and things like that. So yeah, I loved it, but yeah, I would do it again. And I hope to do it again, in the future, just maybe with a slightly bigger motorhome.
Yeah, about the future, what is
Oh
the
yeah.
vision for you for the business? What is the next step, next evolution? And then as well at the personal level, what would you love for your life? Like if you would love to share this with us.
Yeah. What's next? Definitely hoping to continue to grow, like as in everyone. I don't want to grow too big though. I think there's some people that have this idea that they're like, oh, you have to be huge. And I definitely don't want to be huge. Like I'm happy with what we have, but it's always nice to continuously making sure that you are growing and improving and um making strides. So I'm hoping to eventually have some passive income. Right now, I do not, which is fine, but it's, one of those things where I definitely want to head in that direction and potentially do some more guest podcasting. I have not done it yet or done it too much. And so that would be something to just experiment with and try. It can be a great way to connect with other people and things like that. And then the other question was personal development, right?
Yeah, personal life. What
Oh, personal life.
what is kind of a dream you would love to make
Yeah.
happen? If you
Yeah.
would love to share.
No, yeah, that's a great question. I definitely hope to continue to grow our family, with children, things like that. Actually, like have right now, I don't have any. So, growing there and then personal. I mean, I would like to potentially get into some fun things like beekeeping and doing like a small garden. Right now we're kind of like you, we're renovating our house and there's a bunch happening outside, so it's like I feel like a lot of things that I do enjoy I've had to kind of put on hold just because it's like I don't have the space or things are just not set up yet, which is totally okay, but I'm excited to, actually grow some more of my hobbies once I have the space to do it again, for sure.
When you mean the space to do it again, is it time or?
Time and like for example like our yard, I used to have a like an area for a garden, but now it's not there, and so eventually I'll put it back. But and then our we're renovating our downstairs, so it's like um areas where I was able to potentially do like stained glass or try new things I just don't have the room for at the moment, especially with cats. Like I said, I have to keep things kind of separate just so that they're not getting into everything. But I still do definitely like, now I still like read and I can crochet and things like that, but it's nice when you have some more space when it's not all torn up, I guess, to be able to work on those things for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And I think the last question is really about how for you has been the financial side, because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, being either kind of scared of numbers or like not willing to look at, but then or having fears, and money is on the way to, their dream and to develop more their business or their personal life. How, if you don't mind sharing, what is your relationship with money for you?
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that. I would say I'm definitely getting better. I think I definitely fall within other female entrepreneurs of like fear and like it can be scary to not just think about money, but making sure making certain numbers and things like that. And so, um, I'm doing better, especially, it's just one of those, like I said, it's kind of one of those parts of entrepreneurship. It's like finances and money comes with it. And so being able to send out invoices or like ask, like making sure they're getting paid, things like that, it can be hard, but um it's been a journey and I've definitely gotten way better at like making sure, to if it's like one of those things like other like especially like men, they can do it, so it's like why it's just one of those fear blockers that you have to kind of get through and be like I can also do it, and you can do it kindly and respectfully and things like that. And so I think it's just one of those things that it's definitely still a learning space, but I'm definitely better at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's when I have the conversation with some client, I always remind them, you know that the invoice is due, but your client is probably doing 1,000 of those things and doesn't even think about you. It's not about love, it's not about your value, it's not about your work, but it's totally okay to send a reminder. Um, I always find some clients like, hey, by the way, I haven't seen the transfer. Have you done it? Like it's just a question. There
Right.
is no feeling involved, and I think it's
Exactly.
where for women it's very important to kind of detach with your emotions when we ask questions.
Yes.
It's like just bring the young part of us,
Yes.
masculine, and it's like just asking questions, not putting any emotion into that because the other person is so busy doing other things, so your invoice maybe didn't even see or yeah, so it's very important to be super fine with that, and having maybe a date with your finances every month to okay, where I am, what is missing in my payment, because for you it has a big impact on your revenue for the month and all of that, so it's so important to be on track with that. So amazing. I think you raise an amazing different point today where it's about a leap of faith, really, like listening to sign and like knowing that, okay, I'm just going to try. and trying is okay. If it doesn't work, I can try something else, or I can just go back maybe to a VA job. But look at you now, you are still doing what you love
Yes.
and building up your personal life from there. So it's just amazing. Just to wrap up, I would love to ask you like very quick question.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah, you can answer in 1 to 5 words, like very quick. One thing you would love for your life. One thing.
One thing I would love to have more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's great. One thing you would love for the world.
Ooh. To also have more fun and maybe a little more peace for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
The worst advice you have received.
You have to be on social media. And not that I'm not, but I just think it's one of those things that, yeah, you don't have to be.
Thank you for saying that. The best advice you actually have received.
Just do it. It's like we talked about earlier, like sometimes you have to do it. And yeah, just do it.
And if you had a magic wand, what would you love to transform? You can.
Oh, to mm, a magic wand. I don't know. I would really enjoy to have like a cat village, like for cats that don't have homes. So if I could have more time and or not time, more money and space, then yeah, I would definitely build something like that. That'd be fun.
Ah, this is amazing. We look forward to see that in the next few years.
Seriously.
Thank you so much, Aleea, for your time today. And to everyone who is watching, don't hesitate to, leave us a comment what has been resonating with you. And we can't wait to see you next week.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.